Hello, friends, and welcome to a special series of the Doing What Matters podcast. I'm your co-host, Erica Vinson, and I'm thrilled to have you join us. While Teresa is on sabbatical until January of 2025, we have created a series of some of the best episodes from the past few years. These episodes are some of our favorite conversations, exploring the themes of life, business, and the essential elements that truly matter as we journey through life together. Teresa and I will be back with new episodes and guests in the new year. Let's dive into the best of the Doing What Matters podcast.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the Real Life Process podcast. It is great to be back with you. So excited. We're coming into some springtime weather here on the farm in Southern Illinois. Here at the Real Life Process, we are excited to be working with all of you and have you listening in to the podcast today. Love the shift that we're having in seasons. It's exciting to see the change of seasons and the change of weather. I don't know for you, but that gets me excited as well. On this episode, I want to share some shifts and changes that you may have heard about last week on the podcast. If you're part of our email list community or in our Facebook community, LinkedIn, all the places that we're involved, Instagram, you may have seen and heard a big shift and announcement that we came out with on March the 1st. Last week on the podcast, I had special guest Sybil Towner, my personal spiritual director, Sharon Swing, and also one of our team members, Lindsay Sturkey, joined me on the podcast last week to talk about the tool of oneLife Maps. oneLife Maps is a tool I've been using for a long time. It's been informational, helping to shape the tools and content of the real life process. And we are having the amazing opportunity to bring the tool of oneLife Maps underneath the umbrella of the real life process business. So our company, our LLC, is going to be bringing this tool underneath our umbrella in the operations standpoint, in the promotion of this tool, and in partnering with Sharon, Sybil, Joan Kelly, another on their team, and several other team members that they have to really take oneLife Maps and the business of Listen to My Life underneath our wing and help to promote this tool. It mirrors and partners with our content so well, the four components of our process. It's a beautiful companion tool to our process, but it stands alone by itself, helping clarity, discernment, understanding, and decision-making in how your life story impacts the way you live today. So these life maps, these big maps that come in a set of 8, can be used by coaches and spiritual directors as a tool for understanding yourself and your part in God's larger story, and then deciding what you might do to live a life that's more of an expression of who God created you to be. And so it just partners so well with our content. But I want to talk to you today from my heart. Last week, you heard from all of us. Lindsay Sturkey from our team is kind of leading this Listen to My Life and this oneLife Maps part. You heard from her, you heard from Sybil and from Sharon and from myself, kind of the bigger picture and just our friendship and our desire to lead this well. I want you to hear from my heart here on my podcast about how this aligns with our values. If you remember, I did a podcast episode a few episodes back about how I wanted to show up on the podcast with our 4 core values, which are be present, be real, create impact, and bring joy. I want to talk about this tool of oneLife Maps and how it aligns with those things. I want to dive in first with being present. The maps as a tool, much like our content, in partnership with our content, you might meet the oneLife Maps first and then say, wow, I want to live this out in some practical ways through the process. Or you might come to the process first and the content that we have, and then either through a coach or through your own doing or through somebody that facilitates the maps, might lean into the maps. Either way, they're both great places to start. But being present is what they help you do. looking at your desires. And one of the things, I actually just got off recording on a virtual summit that I'm going to be on. We as entrepreneurs, business owners, ministry leaders, whatever we're doing, we have to do our own work first. We have to be present. We have to know our real self. These maps are a tool that helps you do that. Much like the Enneagram can help in that way, much like needs and values can help in that way. That be present value not only talks about being present in the moment and showing up, but also being present to yourself. And so these tools just align so well with that. The second one is being real. So many times when we're trying to work on personal development and self-growth and, what does God have for us? What is the deeper spiritual journey that we might be on? Then there are places where we have to become very real with ourselves, very honest about those things, and really dig in a little bit. One of the maps that's in the 8 map series is called My Life Story. And I love this map. I'm not going to say it's an easy one to do, but as you map out the highs and lows, the places in your stories where you felt God's presence, where you felt maybe some distance from God, where you saw God's movement, where there might have been pain, there might have been hard things as well, but there might have been seasons of great joy, then you can map those out. You begin to see patterns and stories in your life that you can discern. And there's just great questions, whether you're a coach, a spiritual director, whether you're doing them on your own. It can be a self-guided experience, but it will really get down to the realness and the core. Then we would recommend that you take the components of the process and begin to implement it into your everyday life. What would what I've discovered impact in my everyday life? Which is the next value that we have here at the process, is creating impact. So these maps in these series of these 8 experiences, where am I at right now? What do I know from my story in map number 2? What are some peak experiences? What are some valley experiences? How do I align and order my days? Which is similar in some ways to a different look from a spiritual perspective at our component number 3, which is real life time. As you work through all the maps and get to how do I move forward, that's that last map. There are 8 individual maps that you can really get real around and begin to create what we call that modern day. And I talk about that in the book, of creating those rhythms and those patterns and those routines that you can come into. That is where that third value of creating impact, it really leans into that discovery of a more joy-filled life, a life that God is inviting you to for meaningful action, for spiritual growth. When you're sitting in that place of, is there something more? And you do the discovery through the maps, through the process, and say, there is. You're at that crossroads asking, where am I going? And then you find the direction, and that brings joy and creates joy. And so we are excited about this tool from a practical standpoint of how it aligns with the work we're already doing. As we talked about on the podcast last week, you are not going to see a lot of different things change in either space, either here at the process or on Listen to My Life. You will over time, but it will be a while. We'll keep you up to date and let you know. We do invite you to not only check out thereallifeprocess.com, but check out Listen to My Life and just look at the tools. Maybe you'll want to get one map or purchase an entire set. Maybe you'll want to download on that site. We have some free downloads. There's so much content there. They actually have a podcast that they've done that there's several evergreen recordings of. And we will keep you in the loop as to how things are coming together between the 2 tools. We are putting those things together on the back end. We will have some upcoming things going on later in the year that will be some live things that you can attend, whether you're already a part of the process work or from the Listen to My Life side, as we merge these two beautiful pieces of tools that you can have in your life to work with, recognize God's story in your life, and create that rule of life. What do I want to say yes to? What do I want to say no to? What am I leaning into? These are things that you can do on your own, one-to-one. You can do them in a small group, a larger group, all kinds of ways. And you may even be drawn to facilitate these tools. So come on board with us, be a part of where this is moving and where this is going. Lean in with us. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but we're excited about it. I just finished up last week for our audience a masterclass that I did on the 5 C's of building a thriving coaching business, which also applies to ministry leaders, spiritual directors, entrepreneurs, and all those types of things. In that class, we talked about this thriving business that you can build. We actually introduced in that class our 2023 certification program, and we have switched that program up just a bit to be a 6-month certification. So in that first 6 months, we're getting you certified, getting all the tools to you. I want to say here on the podcast that one of those things that we're doing this year, and this year only for our 2023 people, is bringing them into deep training on the maps. As part of that 6-month certification, you'll get follow-up training and knowledge around the tool of the oneLife maps only this year. If that interests you, this might be the time to look at our certification. It's a 6-month program. We do have a second 2023 program that you can do that's a year long, that does include more business building and training and community and things. But if you're looking for a condensed certification around the content, this is the year to come in and be a part of that. Now's the time to be a part of the Real Life Process community and facilitators. If that's a tool you can use in the work that you do as a coach, a spiritual director, a ministry leader, now's the time, because you're going to get the benefit of all of these programs. We want to support you in all the ways we can through coaching, community, content, and certification. This tool of Listen to My Life is going to be another huge part of that for us here at the Real Life Process. Come along for the ride. Make sure you're on our email list. Keep listening to the podcast. If you haven't picked up a copy of the book that came out November 1st, Do What Matters, Live from Rest, Not Rush, that will give you a great taste into who we are and what we do and what content these 4 components of real life being, real life action, real life time, and real life living are all about, and what that process is. We love you, and we are so appreciative to have you along for the journey into living our best life every single day. Remember that every day does have something extraordinary in it. You just have to look for them. And I'll be back next week. Got some guests coming up in the next episodes here on the podcast, and I'm excited to share those with you. I will be back next week with more from the Real Life Process podcast. Have a great day.